You're watching Alaska's high-definition news leader. This is the KTVA 11 Evening News.
Complaints of the VA health clinic in the Mat-Su Valley were loud and clear last night. Veterans met with Senator Lisa Murkowski in Wasilla to share their stories, most of them full of hardship.
KTVA 11's Kate McPherson was at the town hall meeting and tells us what veterans are concerned about.
In November of '68 when I got hurt.
Proud of his service,
This is my Purple Heart.
Barney Jimenez fought in Vietnam.
Yeah, this is me when I was 19 years old. Doesn't look like me, but he's pretty handsome.
Barney has Parkinson's disease and some other general health issues. After years of positive experiences with the VA health system in Kenai, his family moved to Wasilla, so he had to change doctors.
They said, you can sign up here, but there's 90-some people ahead of you waiting for another doctor to get hired.
He got to go back to the VA hospital.
Barney was one of 100 Mat-Su veterans who met with Senator Lisa Murkowski and voiced concerns about the lack of doctors at the VA Mat-Su clinic.
I never did get into the VA.
Barney says he felt rejected by the system.
He said, well, come back in about 6 months and we'll see where you are on the list. Well, I came back and the list was still 90-plus people.
He, like many other veterans, receives care from a clinic run by the South Central Foundation. Jim Moberly also spoke at the meeting with Senator Murkowski. He's a patient at the Mat-Su clinic, but says because of the high staff turnover, his care is not consistent.
The last doctor I saw this time was a contracted doctor, and I spent my entire appointment talking about my past history because she didn't know me. She didn't, and half of what I had, was not even in the system.
There are currently no permanent doctors working at the Mat-Su clinic.
It's inexcusable that we have had 2 permanent positions authorized and not been able to recruit.
Senator Murkowski agrees that the problem could be an uncompetitive doctor's salary. Whatever the reason for the lack of staff, these veterans just want the problem fixed. Kate McPherson, KTVA 11 News.
The VA says they see more than 1,200 vets at the Wasilla Clinic. Senator Murkowski has requested a full investigation into why the clinic is having so many problems. Well, a very special patriotic symbol is in Anchorage for the 4th of July weekend. This afternoon, the honor flag stood in memory of Justin Woolham, the Anchorage police officer who was killed 13 years ago while responding to reports of a drunk driver. Woolham is one of more than 1,000 military and police officers who have had the flag present to pay tribute to their service. The honor flag travels the country with a mission to remind Americans of the sacrifices made by men and women in uniform. Now, if you'd like to see the honor flag, you still have a few chances. Tonight, it will be on display at the Hilton in downtown Anchorage until 8 p.m. In exchange for a donation, they will give you a pair of gloves and you can hold the flag. Tomorrow, it will be in the 4th of July parade, which starts at 11 a.m. on the Delaney Park Strip.
Dozens of men and women pledged their allegiance to the United States to become citizens of our country today. Family and friends looked on as 55 people from 29 different countries received their citizenship at the Kincaid Chalet. It's been a long journey for many of the new Americans, and today was a big celebration.
Yeah, it's an entirely wonderful feeling to have to go in there and be proud for where you live and what you stand for.
The new Americans had to pass vigorous tests before being accepted as citizens. Well, the 4th of July can be mayhem on the water. Boat safety is top priority this holiday weekend.
And while we get reminded every single year, there are boating safety tips that should never be overlooked. KTVA 11 Shannon Ballard is in the newsroom to refresh our memory. Shannon.
Yeah, the key to having a good time on the water is simple, according to the boating safety folks. It's all about preparation. They're pulling out all the stops to keep boaters out of trouble this weekend.
This would be a great fishing boat.
It's easy to forget from one summer to another everything you need to know about keeping safe on the water.
It's in good shape.
It's David Brubaker's specialty.
This is a Danforth anchor, and he's carrying about, about three feet of chain. I'd put at least 10 on this particular boat. Check the vessel's identification numbers.
The volunteer Coast Guards member comes with his checklist.
These are mandatory items: the display of numbers, registration, PFDs or life jackets.
He says this is the best possible way to learn about potential violations of state and federal requirements.
It's always a good idea to have somebody's other set of eyes to look at what you're preparing for.
But more importantly, this once-over can keep your boat and passengers out of harm's way before you even leave the docks.
Every year it seems that some of the fuel docks we have an explosion where sparks get involved, fumes are there, and bang, people get hurt.
Really, you want to make sure that all the buckles are in good working order.
Another requirement for anyone under 18, a Coast Guard approved life jacket.
And in here I can read the label and I can see here that it's U.S. Coast Guard approved.
It's not just about having one, make sure it fits.
So if you pull up on the straps and it goes up over their ears, then it doesn't fit well.
If you don't have one, there are more than 700 loaner stations just like this one throughout the state.
Cold water doesn't discriminate regardless of how strong of a swimmer you are or how long you've been boating in Alaska. This cold water doesn't discriminate.
We don't get many great weekends in Alaska, and this one is shaping up to be fantastic.
The state encourages everyone on the water to file a float plan. Let someone know where you're going and when you'll be back.
Horn works.
Yeah, the horn works.
And take a communication or signaling device with you.
If you're in danger, 5 short blasts are the danger signal.
It's the little things that could make a big difference during 4th of July weekend.
One thing to make sure you don't do: operate a boat under the influence of drugs and alcohol. The Coast Guard urges you that if you see someone driving impaired, say something. Joe and Emily.
All right, good reminder. Thanks, Shannon. And if you're looking for something to do to celebrate the 4th, here's some events happening around the Anchorage area. The 4th of July parade at the Delaney Park Strip starts tomorrow at 11 a.m. A festival will follow and will be open from noon to 6 p.m.
The Chugiak Parade begins at 2 at the Latimer Fire Station on the Old Glen Highway. And of course, the main event, fireworks, start at 11:20 tomorrow night at Mulcahy Stadium. Now, those will follow the Pilots Bucks Alaska Baseball League doubleheader. What started as a bet is now one of the oldest foot races in the country. We learn more about Mount Marathon coming up. If you live in the Mat-Su Valley, secure your trash. That is the message from the folks at the Department of Fish and Game who had to kill a bear in Palmer on Monday night. They say the young black bear spent a couple days rummaging in the trash in a residential area near the airport. A wildlife biologist says while bears do wander through Palmer neighborhoods, they don't want them sticking around because of trash or pet food left unsecured. We have a lot of useful information on how to keep bears from becoming nuisance bears online. Just head to ktva.com.
Kodiak Island's newest attraction is already in deep water. The Wild Alaskan boat features exotic dancers who entertain fishermen on the Bering Sea. The Coast Guard shut it down after someone reported a water taxi bringing customers to the boat was over capacity. The owner says he's not sure who notified authorities, but believes it's someone who doesn't like the strippers on his boat. A radio station there reports the business was shut down early Saturday on unrelated safety gear violations and then reopened on Tuesday. So it started as a bet between two sailors, raced 3,022 feet to the top of Mount Marathon and back down in an hour. The first attempt in 1908 was a failure. Today, hundreds do whatever it takes to survive the Mount Marathon Challenge. Tonight, we introduce you to the mountain.
If you get to the bottom and you're not bleeding, then you didn't try hard enough.
McCool isn't joking. He's finished the race 17 times and still makes at least 30 trips each year from Anchorage to practice.
There's so many different trails, there's so many different approaches to it, and knowing the mountain is more important. In some ways, it's more important than your fitness.
So here it is, Mount Marathon. We start at the bottom.
So at this point in the race, you've got a decision to make. You either head for the roots or you continue running up to the cliff face.
The roots is a tangled, jungle-like ascent up narrow pathways.
All about the handholds.
While the roots make convenient grippers, the congestion on race day could hold you up.
Once you hit this, your head's gonna be right up against the butt of the person in front of you.
That's why most people choose this route, the cliffs. It's a wider path with plenty of room to pass.
This is very steep, but at least it's rock, and people tend to trust the rock a little bit more.
The roots and cliffs open up into what some runners call the climb. Here, speed hiking is the name of the game.
And being in the trees, especially on a hot day, it is sweltering and muggy in there. This feels great, just having a little bit of cool air on you.
This is where training trumps athleticism. Clint calls his practice climbs choreography sessions. He can picture each step of the climb in his head.
There's no rule. You can take any route that you like.
The climb takes you all the way to the top, but don't relax, not just yet. Here comes the dangerous part, the scree.
We call it a controlled fall, and that's exactly what it is.
Small, loose rocks litter this part of the mountain, and if you don't watch your step, the result can spell disaster.
And it's very easy to take a trip, and this rock is sharp. If you take a fall up here, you're gonna know it.
If you don't fall here, don't let your guard down. The gut is the most daunting part of the mountain to most racers.
This is actually where most of the injuries take place. And the reason is by now your legs are just exhausted.
Once you survive the gut, you're faced with 3 tough choices. Most people choose the cliffs. The safety trail is for juniors, and then there's the route that's not for the faint of heart.
You do not want to go straight where there's going to take you to the waterfall, which unless you are an expert, you do not want to go down that way.
Even elite athletes mess up the waterfall. Clint goes down with reservation. It's a combination skid and slide. He uses his hands, his feet, even his bottom. The more points of contact, the better.
This is essentially a vertical wall, and if you catch a toe, you're going for a long ways. It's potentially fatal.
If you make it past this challenge, you're nearly home free.
3/4 of a mile to downtown, the finish line, and pizza.
Delicate dance of control, courage, and perhaps a little bit of crazy.
I did the climb, and I can tell you, you do have to be a little bit crazy to make it to the top.
Clint's pretty hardcore. But was he practicing, or was that the real thing? I mean, he goes all out when he practices.
He does, he does.
Wow.
You have to know the mountain to get down safely. Now, the top finishers in the men's race will complete the 3.1-mile race, which takes you from sea level to 3,022 feet and back down in about, get this, 45 minutes.
Wow, now the average speed up the mountain is 2 miles an hour. The average speed down is 12 miles an hour.
Tonight, all the runners are required to attend a safety meeting in Seward before they run tomorrow's race.